Hey, welcome into the Shopfix channel, a community joined together for the love of woodworking. So I recently started up on a trestle-style dining table, and it's going to be utilizing these Cove style legs. I think it's going to look amazing. I love the look of this cedar, so let's get right into this. This project seemed to keep pushing my limits of woodworking, which led me to learn how to use some new tools along the way. I've never had to precisely crosscut a 6x6 board before, but I found this new beam cutting chainsaw attachment for the circular saw, and it made the job much simpler. I've never attempted to create Cove style trestle legs other than the 6x6 pine test boards that I practiced on, but I was up for the challenge inspired by my client's design. Going into this build, I had no templates, and I was simply custom designing the leg based on pictures I had researched online. For the top and bottom of the trestle post, I penciled in 45-degree bevels, which would create decorative triangle indentions once they're all cut out. I also etched in 2 coves, one large and one smaller, which I'm tracing out here with a compass. I had a lot of fun creating this design, and although it worked really well, there are a countless number of designs you can create, many which would look even better than the ones I created here. Once the design was fully sketched in on all 4 sides, I applied boiled linseed oil to the ends of the posts to help prevent potential cracking once they're fully cut. The bandsaw is the best tool to cut these coves out, and I realize not everyone has a bandsaw or one that has the cutting capacity that I do, so if anyone has a workaround, please comment. To complete the entire cove design, I repeated the bandsaw cuts on 3 out of the 4 sides. You simply have to rotate the piece to a side that still has your design traced in. Once you get to the 3rd cut, you'll need to make sure to keep these offcuts intact. We will then take those offcuts and place them back on. We will need these to reference our cut lines for the 4th and final bandsaw cut. To make sure these offcuts don't move out of position, I need to secure them down with clear tape. I simply used clear packaging tape here, and it worked well once I had removed all the dust from the surface. If you don't take the time to clean the dust, the tape will have a really hard time sticking to the wood. Now we have the proper reference lines to make our 4th and final cove cuts. This whole process actually worked way better than I expected, and even with a rough bandsaw cut, the design came out really well. For those that are more skilled at the bandsaw, there are more intricate designs that are achievable for sure. I think the best thing to do is practice designs on a cheaper spare board to get a design down that you really like and are able to cut out accurately like I've done here. I also think it's good practice to leave your cuts just short of the mark so you can dial them in with a chisel, because if you cut past the line, it's nearly impossible to fix. Sanding the coves was actually fairly easy. The trick is to use a sanding flap wheel chucked into a power drill. As soon as I had these trestle posts sanded, I gave them a coating of boiled linseed oil right away to help prevent any cracking. Unfortunately, I did have some minor cracking despite my efforts to prevent it. To seal the cracks, I began by placing heavy-duty duct tape over them. Then I filled the cracks in with Starbond CA glue. Since I was repairing an unlevel crack, the tape prevented the CA glue from all settling to the bottom. Once I removed the tape, I simply sanded away the leftover residue and smoothed out the CA glue with my flat sanding wheel. I've never attempted to repair a crack in curved wood before, and I was impressed that my method actually worked really well. It took some time to work off the tape residue that stuck to the wood, but in the end, the repair looked really clean. If anyone has another method that they've used to repair cracks in curved wood, I'd love to hear how you managed it. After I fully sanded the coves, I also hand sanded the triangle indentions and rounded over the edges. Afterwards, I gave both trestle posts another coat of boiled linseed oil. Creating these Cove trestle posts was one of the toughest things I've done to date, and I was really proud of the way they turned out. The trestle legs were far from complete though. It was time to create the base of the trestle legs. After testing out several designs on spare boards, I finally landed on one that I really liked, and after tracing in the design, I completed the cut on the bandsaw. This design only needed to be cut along the profile of the board, which made it much easier to cut than the trestle post. To create the design, I got inspiration from pictures online and used a compass to help shape the curves. After the design was fully cut, I sanded them just like I did the post and used a sanding flap wheel. I also used an orbital sander to smooth out the flat edges. Well, with the 2 trestle bases done, it was time to create the 2 trestle top pieces. To create these, I first trimmed down some 6x6 cedar to 4 inches, so that way it would be slightly smaller in thickness than the base. I used a jointer as well as the planer to get a nice smooth uniform surface on all sides. The top piece of the trestle leg should be wide and long enough to support the entire top of the table, but also smaller in length than the base. while the base should be just a few inches shy of the overall width of the top of the table. Proportions are really important when it comes to these trestle-style table legs. I traced out my best design for the top, which was a simple elongated roundover look. I wanted the top piece to have some style, but I also wanted to retain most of the lumber to make sure to maintain the strength and rigidity of the lumber. This cut was by far the easiest to make out of all three. There are so many possibilities when it comes to these trestle legs, and I hope you can see how simply getting some inspiration and exploring some designs on test boards can lead to some amazing creations. The main lesson I learned from this project is that you might surprise yourself with what you can create if you just give it a try and push yourself past your comfort zone. Thanks for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.